I'm 42 years old, I've got 3 grown-up kids, and I still play video games pretty much every day. And this just turned up at my house. I also know from looking at the comments section on previous videos like this one that I am absolutely not alone at still being a gamer in my 40s, and I know there's going to be plenty of people down in the comments section now saying I'm 50, so I'm 60, I'm 70 and I still play games. Brilliant, awesome. This is definitely a video for you. We are not alone, but that doesn't mean everybody fully understands us. So this is a video where, yes, we are going to have a little look at the Switch 2, but this isn't a traditional like first look unboxing, because I realized this came out yesterday. If you wanted to watch an unboxing, you've probably already seen an unboxing. I might still enjoy playing video games, but at 42, there's only so many times I can see somebody open a box and take a black rectangle out of it. So we are going to get to that in a little while. But first, I just wanted to have a chat about gaming as an older gamer in general. If the idea of that appeals to you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss out on my future videos. I upload a couple of times a week, just basically chatting about life as a nerd in his 40s. And of course, if you do enjoy this video, please leave a thumbs up on there for me. And why not tickle the algorithm by letting me know down in the comment section what the first console and or video game you ever played was. For me, it was the Nintendo Entertainment System and Duck Hunt. I got the pack for Christmas. It must have been late 80s, early 90s. I got the NES pack that came with Mario 1, Mario 3. Still don't really know why no Mario 2, and Duck Hunt. Obviously played Duck Hunt first because it came with a light gun, and that was awesome. And I think in my entire life of having an NES, I never got a 4th game. I played those games to death until I eventually got a Mega Drive a few years later. But this isn't the story of my history of gaming. This is the story of why I still game in my 40s and what it's like still gaming in my 40s. So let's start with the why. For a start, as my little mini history lesson suggests, it's a hobby that I've had all my life, and just because I'm a little bit older now doesn't mean that my hobbies have to change. You don't reach a certain age where, oh, you're not allowed to like video games anymore. Here, why don't you take up gardening? That's not quite how it works, is it? It's something I've always done. It's always been a part of my life. Yes, it's had many different shapes over the years, and my tastes in games have definitely changed over the years. But at its core, one of my favorite hobbies, one of my favorite things to do ever since I was very, very, very small is play video games. So for as long as I'm still enjoying it, there's obviously no reason to stop. Why do I enjoy it so much? I think part of it is, as an autistic person, I like the rules, I like the structure, I like the routine of it. I like the fact that you go into a game and it has a predefined arena for you to operate in that you can't really break out of, and there are certain goals and quests and missions that are very clear for you and you can't really vary from. It's very clear whether you've succeeded or failed. And as someone who does struggle with like normal human interaction on a day-to-day basis, having this alternate world that I can escape to that's much easier to understand, much clearer rules and much clearer indicators of failure and success, it allows my brain to switch off in the same way as doing Lego allows my brain to switch off. And it's just nice to have those moments in the day where I'm not constantly having to figure out, do they mean what I think they mean? What does the thing that they've just done actually mean? What am I supposed to do now? Where am I? It's all so clear and spelled out for you in video games. And I really appreciate that. It's why when I'm playing with Lego, I like to follow the instructions as well. I like to have those structures for me to follow because I don't have them in other parts of my life, and my brain benefits from them. And also, you just have to take one look at my office to see that I am a massive kid. I still love toys. Nostalgia is a massive pull for me. I have a massive area this side of my office that's dedicated to Nintendo and Mario, and the nostalgia pull there is very, very strong, and it makes me feel nice to have that nostalgia. So getting back to the Switch 2 briefly, the fact that the big launch game of that is Mario Kart World. Mario Kart is a game I've been playing for 30 years. It takes me back to my childhood. It's as fun as it ever was. And it's nice to be able to access those nostalgic parts of my game. But that was all very wordy because bottom line, the reason I still play games now is that they're fun. I enjoy doing it. And if I'm having a nice time doing it, probably don't need to stop, do I? I also have the benefit that it is a hobby that has evolved with me over time. I mentioned how when I first got started, it was on a Nintendo Entertainment System on a little portable TV in my bedroom. We also had a Spectrum around this time as well that we kept in our living room. We moved on to a family PC. The Game Boy came along. I moved through the console generations. And there was a time, certainly looking at my late teens, early 20s, where the pinnacle gaming wise for me was get a TV as big as I possibly can, the most powerful console and PC that I could possibly get, crank the graphics up as far as I could possibly go, and like really push the limits of technology. I'm not really interested in any of that now. I've had my Switch 2 about 24 hours, and if we do pop the box open, you'll notice that the dock is still in the bottom there, all wrapped up and sealed. And unless I decide to stream from this console, I imagine that's where it's going to stay. I'm trying to sell my 2 Switches that I had from the previous generation at the moment. They're on eBay with no docks. I don't know where the docks are. They've gone missing long ago because I now in my 40s have absolutely no interest in sitting in a chair, sitting at my desk, sitting in front of the TV and playing video games. I have completely evolved into handheld man. 20 years ago, I played over 100 hours of Oblivion on the Xbox 360. I'm now replaying it on my Steam Deck and loving it. The same could be said for Cyberpunk, a game that I originally played on, was it the PS4, PS5, when that came out like 5 years ago. I got so far into it and just kind of ran out of opportunities, ran out of time to play it. I ended up finishing the story on my Steam Deck last year, and I've just bought it again for my Switch 2 because I'm finally going to get around to playing the DLC again, fully in handheld mode. I have a Steam Deck, I have a Switch 2, I have one of those little Anbernic retro ones that looks like a Game Boy. I love my handheld gaming. The only time you'll catch me playing in an upright position now is when I'm doing it for work, when I'm making videos, when I'm sat at this desk doing it. I don't have a console set up in front of a TV anywhere in the house. I have a PS5 in here that I've not turned on since we've lived in this house, and I'm probably going to sell. So although I am still as much of a gamer as I ever was, what that looks like is very, very different now. And it's one of the reasons why the Switch was my favorite console ever. And I'm expecting the Switch 2 to be even better because I love handheld gaming now. I like to lie on the bed. I like to sit on the toilet. I like to use it when I'm traveling on the train or on a plane and just snatch those little 10, 15-minute spells where I can play the game that I'm really into at the moment, rather than sitting down for 4 or 5 hours in a comfy chair with my legs reclining. So it's a hobby that has been able to evolve with me over the years. And it's like it's always matched up with what I wanted. When I wanted the big screen, big fancy graphics experience, that's when high definition TVs were becoming a thing and the Xbox 360 was just coming out and blowing everybody's mind. But as I've evolved more into handhelds, we've moved into things like the Vita, the 3DS, the Switch, the Steam Deck. And it's changed with me, and as far as I'm concerned, changed massively for the better. I don't care about graphics anymore. I just want to be able to play lying down on the bed. And I am completely used to getting mocked on the internet for all of that. It's weird because certainly I see it a lot on TikTok, on both my Lego videos and whenever I talk about gaming. I made a few TikToks yesterday about the Switch 2, and I got a lot of it in the comments to that as well. Along the lines of, you're a 40-year-old man, why are you getting excited about a new games console coming out? Why are you getting excited about a new Lego set that's coming? Get a life. And it's like, the reason you're being served this content on TikTok in the first place is because you have an interest in these topics. Yes, you might be 15 or however. So you've decided at 15 that you're into games now, but by the time you're an adult, you're not going to be anymore. Why have you decided that? What are you going to want to be into instead? It's a very weird attitude to take. And I see it as well from other grown-ups who perhaps did grow out of the childish stuff that I'm still into and talk about how, you know, I had a few comments of, oh, you just dropped £500 on a new games console, do you? Nice to be rich. Yeah, but you're not interested in it. I am. Yeah, it's a, £400 or £500 console, but I sold a load of stuff on eBay over the last few weeks in order to pay for it. And it is my areas that I splurge on. I like Lego, I like tech, I like video games, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't go out. So I would say my discretionary spend in a typical month probably isn't that dissimilar from a typical 40-year-old. They're just, in my view, wasting all theirs on wine and handbags and leather shoes and gold watches and whatever else boring stuff grown-ups buy, that I'd rather have something I can play Mario Kart on. Never mind the fact as well, I've been able to turn my passions, my love of Lego, my love of video games, into a career that completely suits my neurodiversity and my goals and my desires in life. I've built my YouTube channels around video games, around content, around storytelling, about the things that I'm passionate about. And gaming is obviously a big part of that. My biggest channel is a gaming channel where I play Football Manager every day and get to do it as a job. And without wanting to rub too many people up the wrong way, get paid an awful lot more than I used to get paid when I was a head of department in a school as a teacher. You know, it's not like I'm scrimping and making a huge number of sacrifices to be able to do this job that is fun. I've been able to take something that's fun and turn it into a career that is paying me way more than I ever could have expected to earn if I'd have stayed in teaching. If I'd have stayed in teaching, I'd probably be a vice principal, maybe even a head teacher by now. I still wouldn't be earning as much money as I am by playing computer games without any trousers on. So I think I've done all right with not growing up. And bottom line, before we do move on and have a quick look at the Switch 2, I am a firm believer that you don't outgrow fun. What you find fun might change, your tastes might evolve. Like I said, I've moved away from the big graphical set pieces. I used to play a lot of Battlefield, FIFA, Forza Motorsport. I don't really play any of those kind of games anymore. I'm not really into the big graphical, high octane competitive gaming anymore. I'm much happier on a handheld playing Pokemon or Disney Dreamlight Valley, but it's still gaming and it's still fun, and you don't outgrow fun. So my tastes have maybe evolved one way, and maybe someone else who enjoyed playing FIFA in the 90s, maybe their tastes evolved into enjoying lager and fights instead. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with how my taste evolved. Let me know your thoughts on my little soapbox rant down in the comments below. And I think we've talked about that stuff long enough to scare away the young people, so us oldies can have a look at the Switch 2 together, because it is a very snazzy piece of kit. I've got myself the little official Nintendo case for it, which, by the way, very, very slimline. If you compare that to the case the Steam Deck is in, it's got like half of the width of that, and it's got these nice little dangleberries on the top as well. This is the official Nintendo case. It's got room for a few game cartridges in there. And yes, I am a cartridge guy. I didn't get the digital bundle for Mario Kart World. I paid a little bit more to buy the console and then the game separately so I can have it physically. And I am making an effort to buy as many of the games that are physical on cartridge as possible, because I want to have a physical game collection. As much as and this is a lovely little contradiction within me, I kind of prefer digital games. I love the fact that with my Steam Deck, I don't ever have to change cartridges. Most of the games that I had for my Switch originally, at least half of them were digital downloads, and I didn't mind doing that because all the physical ones were still available. But I'm kind of taking the reverse view, I think, on the Switch 2, because there's so few games that are actually on the cartridges. I think at launch, there's 5 games that are actually on the cartridge. There's lots more in boxes, but they're just game keys where you have to plug the cartridge in to be able to access the digital one that downloads. I don't like any of that. I want physical to continue because I want to be able to come back to this in 20 years time when the servers are long gone and play these old games. So I don't necessarily need to own them for 20 years, but I'd like to be able to go back and buy them and play them again. So I think I need to do my bit to support physical media just to make sure that it carries on existing. Oh, that's another old man rant. Maybe that's a rant for another video. But so I did get that. It's the only one I've got at the moment, but I have ordered Cyberpunk and another one as well, Rune Factory. which I've never heard of, but it's one of the other ones that's on physical on the card, and it's not Zelda, and I'm not a massive Zelda fan, so I've ordered that one as well. And I think Zelda aside, they are the only physical on cartridge games that are available at launch. But it is a big weighty piece of kit, which I like very much. The Joy-Cons, rather than sliding in like they did on the Switch, now have this like magnetized connection where they just kind of pop in and then really hold in. Like, I mean, I'm holding that just by the Joy-Con and shaking it, and it isn't coming anywhere, but you have that little quick release button and it just comes straight off. So it is quite clever the way that it does it. I don't know how sturdy that's going to be long term, but at the moment it does seem to work quite nicely. The Joy-Cons themselves are a little bit bigger as well than on the original Switch. So that's an original Switch Joy-Con. This is let's turn it around the right way. This is a Switch 2 Joy-Con. So you can see it is considerably longer. And in fact, the console itself, if you compare the size of the Switch to the size of the Switch 2, I mean, the entire Switch could pretty much be covered by the screen of the Switch 2. So it's considerably bigger as well. Not quite on the same scale as the Steam Deck. Although the screen, I would say, is probably the size of the Steam Deck. I don't have the OLED Steam Deck. I only have the original launch one. But screen-wise, I think the screen is probably a little bit bigger on this. It doesn't quite have the same ergonomic feel. I think I'm going to need to get a grip for it. I had a grip for my original Switch, and I think I'll probably want a grip for this as well, just for those longer game sessions, so it feels a little bit more comfortable. But it certainly feels like a nice weighty bit of kit in hand. And I mean, I've played some Mario Kart. I've had it a day. I've played a little bit of Mario Kart, and it's a lot of fun. It's Mario Kart, as you would expect. And I imagine I'll play a lot more of it, and I'll play a lot more of other bits and bobs as well. And it's fine. And we've got a nice little launch schedule coming up over the next few months, where they're basically giving us a new game each month. I'm particularly looking forward to the Pokemon one that we've got coming out later in this year. And yeah, a lot of these games are going to be available on the original Switch as well as this one. But it's a bigger, brighter screen. It's able to keep lots of Pokemon on screen rather than not very many Pokemon on screen. It's more powerful, and it's just shiny, nice new tech. It's got a nice little kickstand at the back, which goes all the way across. I am a little bit frustrated at the SD card situation, because you need to have a shiny new style of SD card. You can't just put a standard one in. I couldn't put my one from my old Switch in, even though I had a big 512 gig one. Can't use it. Have to get the new Express SD cards. The only ones of them on Amazon have a picture of Mario on the box. So they've kind of gone in the direction Sony have gone in, where they've forced you down the route of getting their memory cards. Others are going to become available in time, but at the moment you basically have to buy the official Nintendo one, and it's expensive, 256 gig for 50 quid. So I've held off on buying that at the moment, because there is 250 gig of storage within the device, and as I'm looking at physical games, I don't need to have loads and loads of storage for loads of digital stuff, at least initially. I've referenced it a couple of times. I've compared this to an original Switch. Let's compare it to the Steam Deck as well. So if you just do them in the cases, you can see the case of the Switch 2 is quite a lot smaller than the Steam Deck one in all directions. And if we pop the Steam Deck out of its box and just compare it size-wise, side by side with the Switch 2, you can see that Switch 2 is a little smaller, but the actual screen on the Switch 2, trying to manipulate these in front of this camera, the screen on the Switch 2 is actually bigger, but the device on the Steam Deck is bigger. You obviously have a lot more thickness on the Steam Deck as well. And I think there's the potential that the Switch 2 solves my one criticism of the Steam Deck. And I love my Steam Deck. I would say 80% of my non-Football Manager gaming that I've done in the last 2 years has been on this. I absolutely love it. But I had to buy a new backpack just to be able to fit this in. You can't take this on a plane if you're planning on taking anything else on a plane. It is a big, heavy monstrosity. I can't keep this in my little man bag. If I try and put it in my man bag, it's not going to fit. Whereas the Switch 2, with a little bit of shuffling around, I might actually be able to take portably in, because although this is a handheld portable device, I pretty much only play it at home. Whereas I think the Switch 2, with it being a little bit smaller, means I will be able to take it out and about with me, which, I mean, even the weight difference, it's such a significant difference between the two. And that's not to say I'm going to be retiring my Steam Deck. I think this is my gaming setup for the foreseeable future until they release a Steam Deck 2. I think this is me. I don't need a PS5. I have one. I don't need an Xbox. I have one. I obviously need my gaming PC for work, but for gaming for pleasure, this is my setup. Steam Deck and Switch 2 allows me to play every game I could possibly want to play wherever I want to play them as well. I've got full portability. I've got the option to play when I'm traveling, play in the bed, play on the toilet, play lying on the sofa, play in the garden, take it on holiday with me and play there. And I think that in 2025 for a 40-something man, that's my perfect gaming setup. And if you'd have shown me that 10 or 15 years ago, when I was buying a big HD TV and a surround sound system and multiple consoles and like shelves full of game discs, I would not have believed that you could get, I'm sounding like a proper old man now, I wouldn't believe that I could get everything I wanted from gaming into effectively the size of a small shoebox. The future's awesome. What a world we live in, boys and girls. And of course, I also have the option as well to eventually set up that dock and use it for multiplayer stuff with Anna, with the kids when they come over for like Christmas and stuff. We can have a big game of Mario Kart or Mario Party or something like that. And the option is there. That's not what I bought it for. I bought it for me to play in my pants. But I've already talked about this for longer than I think I intended to, so I'm going to throw it over to you. Let me know down in the comments section. Are you still gaming as an adult? I'd love to know how old you are as well. Am I allowed to ask how old you are? How old are you? Are you still gaming? And what are you currently playing? I think will be a very fun conversation for us to get going down in the comment section. You might even give me some ideas. But for now, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more stuff like this. It's the Friday video. That means I get to do my fun outro. Boys and girls, I'll see you next Tuesday.